future's now, old man.
What a do, scattaboo. This is the Future First podcast where we are helping you win today with a future first mindset. I'm your co host, Jmac, here with Jose. What's up, Jose?
What's up, man? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'll tell you what I don't do is scattaboo is he's hurt, he's injured.
Oh yeah. It's Tyrone Tracy time. It looks like over there in New York.
Hey man, I got him in ToeClan, so I'm okay with that. Yeah. How you doing this week, man?
I've been all right, man. Just getting by. About to be back in school and all that whole thing starting next week. So, just enjoying the rest of the summer that's left, and then we'll be back on the grind.
Man, I feel that. Yeah, work's been crazy for me over here. I've been going nonstop. We got a project due this week, so it's been grinding, and I'm happy to jump on here and talk some football. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and we actually have some actual football to talk about, right? I mean,
We do.
have some preseason games going on. We were just finishing up a keeper league that we're finishing up a draft for. We're going to talk about today, kind of focus on a little bit of keeper centric episode for you guys today. But yeah, man, what did you think of the preseason? What did you get to catch? What did you see?
Yeah, man. I caught a couple of first drives here, but let's take care of some house cleaning first. Like and subscribe on that video here on YouTube or on Spotify. Still, drop a 5-star review there. And yeah, like Jose was saying, for this episode here, we're gonna talk about our ToeClan Keeper League, talk about our drafts, our strategies. We got to keep or not to keep. We'll be going through some keeper decisions of friends and members we have. And then yeah, we'll get into a quick hit here. Here we go, right into it, man. Yeah, NFL preseason is here. We got the Bengals versus the Eagles today, Raiders versus Seahawks, and Browns versus the Panthers. I caught a little bit of the Bengals and Eagles game, which was an exciting one because we had the Bengals starters playing pretty much the whole first quarter. I don't think the Eagles started anyone, so unfortunately, like their defense was kind of the Bengals just walked all over them. It was a really high scoring game too.
Yeah, man. I caught a little bit of the early game. I think it was the Raiders and the man. I'm completely blanking on who they were playing, but
Seahawks.
the Seahawks. Yeah, that was the afternoon game. No, the earlier window game was uh the one that I watched, and as well as the Bengals. But it was pretty interesting to see. I mean, Burrow and Chase and that offense, like you said, they were playing backups, but it still looked as good as ever. Chase Brown got a lot of work. He was heavily involved, which is for a lot of people, I think he's somebody that a lot of people are excited about. So that was probably really good for them to see. Yeah, and the other game was the Browns versus Panthers. Sorry, completely blanked there. That's the one I caught. Some of, but yeah, I mean it's preseason. It's kind of hard to tell because, like you said, it's right. It's the Bengals they're putting their starters out there, and who are they actually playing against, right? But I mean the Bengals are always going to be exciting. It's always going to be fun. So. Yeah, man, I thought that was cool. I saw a little bit of Anthony Richardson that went out there and got completely shellacked and got knocked out of the game. Hopefully he's going to be all right. And then for the Ravens, Keen Mitchell was a guy that stood out to me coming back from his ACL 2 years removed. He looked pretty good. I think he's a deeper round guy that or on dynasty benches is probably still hanging out to keep in mind in case Henry goes down. It looks like they wanted him to be the guy, and he looked like he got some of his juice back. Obviously, like he was kind of the only somewhat relevant Raven that was out there, but otherwise, yeah, man. It's preseason. It's nice to see some actual football, some actual good players. It's exciting.
Yeah, same man. Yeah, I liked in the Bengals. I liked Chase Brown when he's out there. He got a lot of work early, which was really good to see. He was involved in the passing game. He was rushing the ball quite a bit too. When they got down into the red zone, he was the first read on their first and goal. Nothing came of it. He was covered, but I mean, it's good to see that he was the first read. and getting out there and making use of some of those high value touches over there in the red zone. Um, yeah, and I think, I caught a little bit of Torrey Horton in the Seahawks. He looked good. He's their fifth rounder for the Seahawks. I think he got drafted. He's got a lot of camp hype coming out, and people are saying that he has a real shot at kind of seeing a role in his rookie year here. I mean, he's only got to beat out Jake Bobo and Marquise Valdez-Scantling. It's not a very impressive depth chart over there that he has to actually overcome. So that'll be interesting. He caught a touchdown. It was like a quick, like 2 yard slant. He catches it, makes a spin move out of two defenders, and then spins out of another defender to get into the end zone. Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. We got Pillow in our ear in our league telling us that ragging on us for getting him for free off the waivers in our rookie draft. So yeah, that one slipped by. Anything else you
Yeah.
want to talk about here on the preseason, man?
No, I mean that, like you said, Horton was pretty interesting. It's interesting in camp. It sounded like he's beating out the vet that they brought in, which is always a good thing for such a late round drafted wide receiver. Normally those guys out the third round after are not guys that you're looking to be very big contributors. But hey, it's exciting. It's good. We know what MVS is, so having somebody new, a rookie who can maybe show us some different things is always exciting. So no, man, but I think that's pretty well covered there for the couple games we had today for the preseason.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's jump into our TC Keeper League here. Let's get right into it. All right, man. We are just finishing up our last couple rounds in this draft. It's a 12-team start 8 plus a defense, single QB. There's a point per first down, and we got some yardage based tier PPR in addition. No tight end premium there. Yeah, the scoring is a little bit unique with the PPR based on the yardage, just kind of every 5 yards, I think you get an extra quarter point, and then for those higher ones, for like the 20-yard, 30-yard receptions, you actually get like 2 or 3 points, I think. Yeah, and then we have the baller style keeper rules, where you get the three keepers. You got to franchise one, and then you put three into a lottery, which can't be the same position as the franchise player, and you get two out of that lottery. So one goes back into the player pool. This is our finish up our first season with it here. We had McGrumble and Papa Josh win last year. Good for them. And yeah, man, what was your takeaway from last year?
Yeah, it was for the startup. Starting it last year, it was a bit of a brutal, um, year to have the 101. Took CMC, and obviously we all know kind of how that went. So my team was kind of in the tank pretty early. Towards the end there, after some trades actually kind of turned around, and I might have been able to sneak into the playoffs, but it never really made any sense. So it was pretty much toast from that point on. With the keepers, I pretty much was just left with having to franchise CMC just because there was really no other way to go about it. Because if I franchised one of the young receivers I had, even JSN, it would mean that to into my lottery, the three guys that would be going in there would be CMC and like two other people, and if I lost CMC, it would just be complete disaster. So yeah, it was not great. It was not a fun season. It's kind of following some of those same baller rules like you were talking about. So you couldn't acquire first round picks. Our keepers don't have any keeper value in terms of where they were drafted. It's just you get to keep one, and then the luck tells you who your other two are. So my three that were into the lottery were all wide receivers. And so I had acquired quite a few second round picks. Unfortunately, I think one of them was yours, and then pretty much a couple extra second round picks. None of them were earlier than mine, unfortunately. So I was stuck kind of with a bunch of later second round picks, which obviously after the keepers is like the fifth round of players. So kind of going into it, my thought was use those picks to try to acquire, build up the talent, do the 2 or 3 for ones. I found it a lot easier than like in season when you're in the redraft or keeper. Like it's hard to do those 2 for ones, 3 for ones. People don't really, they kind of see through what's happening there. But I felt in the draft that it was a lot easier because the player, the picks were more alluring than like what the players actually could be. So that was kind of what I went into it thinking, like I needed to turn these picks into some actual real high end assets.
Yeah, there are quite a few trades flying early on in our draft. Um, and yeah, there was a lot going on there. So good on you for making those moves. Um, yeah, I had kind of a different tale there from, my previous season. I was a main contender. I had a really strong team. I got knocked out in the semifinals, which was a little rough. Again, to McGrumble and Papa Josh, that was a tough one. I think they had the Jaden Daniels, and that didn't feel good. Um, but yeah, I had an embarrassment of riches thanks to Ziggy drafted my team for me. Appreciate you, man. I had Burrow, Henry, Mixon, Chuba, Brian Thomas Jr., Puka, London, Garrett Wilson, Kittle, Chuba. I had a really strong team last year. Um, and I wasn't really sure the path forward here. I had a lot of good wide receivers, so it made sense that that wasn't the position to franchise. So it kind of became for me a question of which position to franchise. It was either going to be quarterback, running back, or tight end, even possibility with Kittle. But I had a thought that Burrow and Kittle might make it back to me at the 110, which is where I was picking from. So I took, Derrick Henry, made him my franchise player. He's older, but he's coming off a strong year. He's in a great offense, and the Ravens. I felt good that he would have another, good year going forward here and could provide a good, stable um, running back base for me to kind of build around for this year. Um, so he was my franchise player. And then for my 3 lottery players, I took Brian Thomas Jr., Puka, and Drake London, and I put them all into the lottery. Yeah, and a little fun way that we did the lottery this year was we did a marble run, and we live streamed the marble run with each marble representing a player. So that was fun. A good setup on you. Thanks for doing that and getting that set up. Yeah, I lost Brian Thomas Jr. in the lottery. So I walked away into this year with Derrick Henry, Puka, and Drake London, which I felt good about. I think Brian Thomas Jr. in hindsight may have been the better keep over Puka, with Matt Stafford's injury becoming more and more concerning here. But it is what it is. And I got 2 stud wide receivers nonetheless to go along King Henry here. Um, yeah, I guess let's dive into kind of how we're approaching the drafts now with the core of our keepers here. So how were you approaching this year's draft, man?
Yeah, I mean your team had so much riches that you had 2 Chubas on there. But no, but yeah, I mean your team was crazy. I was really surprised that you didn't win. I mean, you did kind of McGrumbles and Papa Josh's. I mean, a little unfair to have a keeper savant like Papa Josh on your team. I don't know how we let that one happen in the league, but yeah, I mean, like I was kind of saying, my keepers ended up being JSN, Rishi Rice, and Christian McCaffrey, who was my franchise. I think I let go DJ Moore and Waddle. If I'm remembering correctly, I can't remember which one I lost in the lottery. But yeah, it's fine. I didn't feel very comfortable with those guys as like my 2 main wide receivers, even though I'm pretty high on JSN. So I knew I needed to make some moves. So I had a couple seconds, including my own. I think we also have a little bit of a added incentive that we're testing out kind of from Dynasty, where if you win the bracket, the losers bracket, you get a consolation extra pick at the end of the second round. So I think I had 4 second round picks. And I just didn't think that, even though that would be a lot of depth, it would be kind of like a lot of the same tier or less, or even below JSN level and CMC, saying he stays healthy. So I needed to go and make some moves. So I wanted to definitely get into the top 4 picks because I it was either going to be Genty, Gibbs, Nico Collins, or Brian Thomas or Bucky, or like there was a different, definitely a tier break of players there. So I went in and got Nico Collins. I traded for the 103. So now Nico Collins, and then AJ Brown actually slipped pretty far. I think he slipped to the back end of the first round. So I went in back in and got AJ Brown. So now kind of my team, whether it's AJ Brown or Nico Collins, looking to the future, I wanted to make sure that I left this year with somebody other than CMC in case he is just fully cooked to franchise down the road. I didn't want to find myself in a situation where in a keeper league like this, if you don't have a cornerstone franchise and you're scrambling to even who that guy's going to be, I feel like you're just in deep trouble. So that was kind of my main objective, was just make sure I had a couple studs that I would feel comfortable, whether it's Nico, AJ Brown, maybe CMC stays healthy and decide to run that back. But I just wanted to make sure I had somebody to franchise going into next year. And then from there, it was kind of just building the running back room, taking shots on guys who could maybe pop, maybe give me another potential either franchise or just run out the room. So I have guys like Caleb Johnson, Tank Bigsby, some of those guys, younger guys, to try to round out my running back room. And so I'm pretty happy overall where my team stands. It's all again kind of going to be linchpinned on CMC, unfortunately. So he's kind of the lone 40. I mean, knock on like any wood that I can find anywhere in my house, but he's the lone 49 running back that's healthy right now. I don't know what's going on up there in the Bay. Maybe you can shed some. Maybe there's something in the water. Or I don't know. But the rookie they had, he was coming back from an injury and then broke a finger. Now he's gone a few weeks. Isaac Grendo is like made of more glass than CMC is. He's can't seem to stay healthy, even though he's quite good. So it's pretty much all going to come down to CMC, and I think that's what it lynches. If he's playing and he's good and he's a top player, I think I have a chance to compete with teams like yours. There's definitely a couple big hitters in the league that, by hook or crook or however, they just ended up with so many young, good wide receivers, such stacked teams that, I'm playing the old man running back game here and hoping it doesn't come back to bite me.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on in San Francisco. Like the injuries never stop in that running back room. It's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate too that this year is not just our running backs. I mean, our wide receivers are running thin too. Every time Jawan reaches down and to his calf, he goes, "Oh, my contract." So hopefully they get that all worked out and going smooth. But yeah, yeah, man. I hope that was a really good strategy for you, kind of redefining the core of your team. Trying to build towards the future. But you're also giving yourself a chance this year too. Having a really strong wide receiver core, and you got some running backs to kind of anchor on too. So good on you. Yeah, for me, I was at the 110, and I knew that I had the strong wide receiver core with Puka and London to kind of start me off. And so my thought was to kind of, grab another wide receiver in those first few rounds and then get two more running backs to kind of help round out the core of the team. I'll grab my quarterbacks late, grab my tight ends a little later. So at the 110, all my guys made it back to me. Kittle, Garrett Wilson, and Burrow were all there for me to take. So I was kind of sitting there like, I didn't really feel great about spending that. I really wanted to get RJ Harvey in the second round, but I wasn't sure he was going to make it to the 210. I had a feeling that someone was probably going to swing on him a little earlier than the 210 because his ADP was right around the 210. So I looked around, tried to see if exploring trading back, maybe get, a spot early in the second, and then also move up into the mid second from my 210. So that's what I ended up doing. I traded my 110, my 210, and my 710 for the 203, the 206, and the 603. And my intent there was I was really, really hoping Kittle would fall to that 203 because that's really who I wanted to take at the 110. It just felt a little early. for him. And there was two people behind me of the four picks between the 110 and the 203 that already had tight ends on their roster. They kept him. So I was like, there's a good chance that he'll fall. But he didn't. He ended up going at the 202. Finns took him. He had Pitts on his roster. He was down in the pits, and he needed Kittle to help him get out of there. So he took Kittle. Good on him. That was a good pick. So yeah, I ended up taking Chuba at the 203 because Burrow and Garrett Wilson went in the first round, the end of the first. So I took Chuba at the 203, and then I turned around and took RJ Harvey at the 206. I had to get RJ Harvey's and the keeper league. In case he shows out this year, he'd be a really good anchor to kind of build around in the future. And yeah, I kind of prepared something in celebration for me getting RJ Harvey here. It felt really good to grab him. So I just wanted to kind of put something out there for the rest of everybody else here. Uh, let's see here. RJ Harvey, ahoy mateys! There's been a lot of talk around the lands about Captain One Leg Dobbins coming and plundering me booty, but I'm here to tell you there's enough in this backfield. There's plenty of treasure to go around. So, hoist your mast, raise your anchors. There's nothing but calm seas for me in the future. Follow me to gold, mateys. Arr! Had to have some fun with that, man. Yeah,
Uh,
RJ Harvey's my guy. I wanted to do a little bit there for everybody. Yeah, so going back to the team here, I was building on that strong running back and wide receiver core, knowing that I had 2-6 now to pocket. I wanted to take two wide receivers in the next cup and a running back in the next 3 rounds, and then I'll grab my onesies in the sixth. Was kind of my taking. So I ended up taking the two swings on tight end in the sixth. I took Evan Ingram, and then I also took Tucker Kraft. So I kind of rounded out the wide receiver room there, and then I ended up going QB in the next 2 rounds. QB actually fell. I would have taken Purdy in there in the sixth, but I took the two tight ends, and Purdy fell to the 8-10, which was nice. So yeah, I got Purdy. I took Stroud in the ninth. Now I'm just kind of grabbing those backup running backs now, hoping to kind of secure me some uh, high upside guys to kind of help me go into the future when chaos hits. Yeah, man. What you got any closing thoughts on the keeper league or anything else you want to talk about?
there was definitely a couple of times, especially I think with those tight end picks where I was pretty pissed off. I mean, those were two guys that I was targeting for my tight end room, so I was pretty pissed when you took those guys. I figured as soon as I saw that you were at that spot in was it the second round, right? Then RJ Harvey was still there. I was like, oh yeah, might as well not even look his way. He's not coming back towards I think I had like the 210 left or 29 or something. I was like, there's no way he's gone. But yeah, it was good, man. I feel pretty good. I think my quarterbacks right now, I have Drake May, who I'm expecting a pretty decent, kind of jump here. I think he's got some weapons. They did some stuff with the O-line. I think Diggs is going to be pretty helpful for him, and I like his rushing upside. And then kind of speaking on rushing upside, I also took Justin Fields as kind of that extra, flyer. He's kind of the guy. I'm not a huge fan of double quarterbacks in a single quarterback redraft style kind of league, even though it's a keeper. I mean, unless you have like an elite quarterback, you're never keeping a quarterback. So I don't mind streaming off the wire, but I felt like Fields at that point was a pretty good value in case maybe he still has those, the legs under him, and he can really put up those game breaking, week winning performances. So he's just a flyer to sit on the end of my bench. And then at the end towards there, I'm just looking for any youth, any upside, I guess, as you do at the end. We're in the 11th, 12th. I don't even know, some deep round. So now defenses are getting taken. I do sometimes, especially now that it's a keeper league, and we've had like 5 rounds worth of 3 rounds worth of keepers. I did take a defense a little bit early. I just want to not have to worry about it. Just one less thing to manage. I took was it the Eagles defense? So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that was just gonna be somebody to set and forget, not have to worry about. Normally, if there's a defense, that's kind of
Yeah.
how I like to run that. It might have been a little early, but in terms of the points that the defense will give compared to like you know unless the handcuff running back turns out, then it's probably worth it for my end. But yeah, man, I think that's pretty good. If we
Yeah. Just one other thing I want to touch on too is, which isn't always important to know going forward, is know how many picks you have left in the draft and know how many roster spots you have left too. Because I had people offering me 2-for-1s, which wouldn't have made sense. It would have given me more picks than I had roster spots. Which is funny, when I looked at his team, he was in that exact boat. He had
right,
five picks left and he only had 3 roster spots. And so
yeah,
he wasn't even asking for much. He wanted to move up 5 spaces and he was giving me, a 13th rounder. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense for me. I get what you're trying to do. And he ended up making the deal, to his credit. But just look out for those kind of things. Pay attention early on so that you can start maneuvering when those picks are more valuable. It's going to be a lot easier to move those 2-for-1 picks, and people don't have that on their radar yet. They're excited the draft is starting. There's high profile guys that they want. They're not thinking about that yet. So keep that in mind moving forward. Roster management and making sure your picks line up with what you have available, especially if you're going to be doing those 2-for-1s in the previous season, to kind of set yourself up for that. But yeah. All right. Well, let's roll into some other keeper decisions here. We're going to go into to keep or not to keep. All right, man. We got a bunch of scenarios lined up here. The first one we have on the docket is going to be a 10-team, half PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 flex keeper choices. We have McBride in the 4th, Hurts in the 8th, or Achan in the 10th. That's a tough one, man. Where are you at with that?
yeah. I mean, I have not been obviously the biggest supporter of HN, but that kind of feels like the biggest value, especially for that round. I mean, McBride is in the 3rd round right now. I think he's like middle of the 3rd round, so keeping him for a 4th. Hurts in the 8th. Yeah, I mean he's what average right now. He's going in the 4th, so that's a decent game. But I think it's just too much value to give up, even if I'm not the biggest HN guy. I mean he's easily going 2nd round, middle of the 2nd round, most places I think, or at least on sleeper from what I'm looking at here. So that's just way too much of a value um, a 10-team league. You need those kind of hammers, and if everything that we've kind of thinking about him is ends up being true, then that value is just way too much to pass up on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think HN is the auto take there. Yeah, and between Hertz and McBride for the other one, oh man, I think I think I might just go McBride in the 4th. Given that it's a 1 QB, like I think I can probably make up that QB spot later in a 10-team. Like I get Jalen Hurts is one of those difference makers, but I think I'd rather just lock down that McBride for a 4th, and then I can swing early on another quarterback if I wanted. Those guys probably aren't being kept up all that much.
Yeah, yeah, I took the easy answer. I'll let you take the hard one. And that's why you that's why you make the big bucks around here. No, but yeah, I agree. I think the positional advantage in a 10-team to have one of those, 2, 3, 4 elite tight ends is much more than what Hertz can give you. And like you said, there's potential that you might be able to end up with, unless people have really bad teams, you can maybe still end up with a Lamar or a Josh Allen or something to even upgrade if you wanted. So yeah,
Hmm,
complete agreement there.
cool. All right, the next one we got on here is a 12-team full PPR. You get to keep 2. There's no cost related here. So that's the guys are Gibbs, ARSB, McBride again, JSN, or HN. Where you at with that one?
I mean, I think you'll agree with me that for me at least, the easiest, especially in full PPR, I think it's Gibbs.
Gibbs.
Personal. Okay, so we're in agreement there. Then the second one, for me is where I really had a tough time because I'm like,
That's tough.
I love St. Brown in PPR, but I really don't want to tie my entire team to the Lions because
Yeah.
I'm just like it just caps your upside, and it's like one Goff injury, kind of just derails your entire season, right? Like you're very, it's two elite players, but I just really don't want to do that. So I think it comes down to me, um, again to McBride. I think I would push out HN McBride and JSN is where I would narrow it down, and I think just a full PPR would probably make me go JSN. I start one elite running back and a second in that second kind of tier, maybe a third tier of like elite wide receivers, but the PPR I think pushes JSN up, at least what I'm thinking that he's going to see in terms of volume. So I think I would get Gibbs and JSN here.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one because I'm with you. Like, I think ARSB is probably like the keep here, but I'm just gonna take Gibbs and McBride again, man, because I think McBride, I, I really do think he could be the tight end one this year. When we look at him versus Bowers last year, McBride severely um, underachieved touchdowns last year, but he still had that insane target share. So I think I think that's where I'm going. It's tough. It's hard to take a onesie as your keeper. Um, but yeah, I think that's where I'm going. I'm just gonna lock those two positions up and hopefully address the wide receiver position. It's hard to know too how many they're starting. If I had to start three wide receivers in this league, or it was like three flex or something, it might be a little bit different story. And just taking JSN or ASRB in those cases. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one here. This one's a baller rules. So what we were doing earlier, where you get one franchise player and then you put three guys into a lottery where you get two back out of it. Again, those three keepers or the three lottery players cannot match the position of the franchise player. So it's a super flex half point PPR, no tight end premium, 12 teams start nine. He's asking who do I franchise and who do I put into the keeper lottery? Um, So the three cat players are the first three picks of the draft, and he's got Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Bajan, Neighbors, Kenneth Walker, Tyreek, Devonta Smith, and Laporta. Man, that's a good team. I don't know where are you going there. Where are you starting on that? Superflex
Yeah,
changes a lot too.
yeah. I mean, I can see why this team is the reigning champ. I mean, that's just a disgusting team, especially looking at how those players finished last year. Immediately, my heart just jumped on Bijan and said I wanted to make him my franchise, and then I had to reconsider because of the super flex. Um, so I think, I mean, the guys towards the end of the list, I think I'm pretty much cutting out Tyreek, Devontae Smith, and Laporta, and then it's kind of like, and maybe even Kenneth Walker. It's maybe those first four names, and it just depends how I slice it. This would be one of those where I would take a hard look at like what are the other keepers doing, like what is everybody else's keepers looking like, what how many quarterbacks of quality that I like are going to come back into the draft. If there's like tons of teams that for sure are franchising a quarterback, it might push um, my thoughts to keep JD5. I mean, I'm getting a little worried. I mean, like he's a rushing quarterback, so he always has that, but he has like no like. I mean, right now we don't know what's going on with Terry McLaurin. If he plays, he's going to be on that wide receiver. I didn't do entire training camp, and he's 30 years old. He's got, you know, big old boy Debo Samuel
Hmm.
and 30-year-old plus whatever ancient Zach Ertz. And that's his. I mean, he did that last year with that, that was his team, but I mean, they're all a year older. So I'm a little bit, scared of JD5, but I think it would probably be Jaden Daniels as my franchise and then throw Bijan Neighbors and maybe Kenneth Walker over Tyreek or maybe Devontae Smith. Like maybe you could bring that third guy is kind of like who is the guy that I'm hoping I lose so that I can keep Bijan and Neighbors, right? I think that's the way I would do it. What about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, because it's super flex, I think I'm gonna gamble here, and I want the shot to have two quarterbacks as my keepers. Um, but yeah, like you said, like it would probably look, I would try to see what other people are doing here and if they're going to be keeping two quarterbacks or not, like trying to figure out how many quarterbacks are going back into the pool. Because yeah, I think what that smart play to do is just take JD5 so you can't lose him. But at the same time, I want both those quarterbacks. So like my heart is kind of saying like let's franchise man, Bajan or Neighbors is really tough. I think I'd probably just franchise Bajan and then I'd throw in Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, and Malik Neighbors, hoping that I get the two quarterbacks out of there and let Neighbors go back in. But if not, then I get one quarterback and Neighbors coming out of it. That's kind of my thought process there. But again, like if I know that the quarterback pool is deep, maybe I just take Jaden Daniels and then hopefully get Bajan and Neighbors in the lotto and let Kenneth Walker or Tyreek or whoever go back into the pool. But that's my thought is I I want the chance to have the two quarterbacks as the keepers because I think that goes a long way in kind of setting your team up for success for this year. Yeah, that one
Yeah,
actually comes from Mando too. So shout out to him. Thanks for submitting
yeah.
that one, bud.
Yeah, hopefully we helped him out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's a great problem to have. I mean, that's when that ballers sort of lottery style becomes fun because everybody's if you do it some sort of live thing like kind of like we did, you have rooting interest, right? People are tuning in and they're hoping, if you went your route, everybody's hoping JD5 goes back in, or
Yeah.
if it's my route, everybody's hoping that one of Neighbors and Bajan make it back in because then you're celebrating that one of those players that is normally not a guy you can attain in a keeper league is back in there. So I think that's what makes that format and that idea of a lottery really fun.
It is a lot of fun. I enjoy it, but it's this is my first year playing it, and I don't know how much more I like it than where you get to keep your players at cost. Because that is a ton of fun to me too. Because now when you're trading players, that cost, contributes to the value of the player, which changes like the dynamic of the league altogether and what, picks are going to be worth in the future. Um, so I think I kind of like the having the cost associated more, but this adds like a whole other layer of strategy to it that makes it fun and like trying to figure out who to keep. And it's really just about taking your guys a lot of times, right? And just figuring out who you like, who you want, and I'm just gonna take my guy, and that's who it's gonna be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you talk about you like the keeper value. I think the next one we have is a classic redraft format kind of style. Start seven, half PPR. You could keep Amon Ross St. Brown for a first round pick, keep Chuba for a 12th, or keep Herbert for a 13th, or Hawkinson for a 14th. The person that submitted this said they were leaning Chuba for the value of currently. It doesn't say how many, so I'm guessing we're just going to be keeping one, right? I mean that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of what
think
I'm.
so.
All right, so what do you think?
Man, that's a tough one. I do think Chuba is the biggest value there. I'm assuming this is one QB. If it's a super flex, I mean Herbert for the 13th is it feels like an automatic. Um, Hawkinson for a 14th. Uh,
He feels like my easy cut there. I feel like I'm not really
yeah,
considering that. I mean, it is great value, but I don't, in terms of what I'm looking for in a
what you're
keeper. I'm
giving up.
kind of, yeah, I'm looking to really solidify. Yeah, I think for me, without the super flex that you're talking about, I think it kind of just comes down to the two beginning options. Like
Right.
the person talking, like you were saying, Chuba right now on sleepers ADP is middle of the fifth round, so you're talking about a 7 round jump in value. Which means if I don't know, some leagues do it like the ones you were talking about. I'm not sure. Some leagues obviously do like it's when they were originally selected, or some every year they go up in value. So if it's one of those next year, Chuba, you could be kept for an 11th, which should still be great value. Um, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown for a first. I mean, you're kind of just making a first round pick. I don't think you can go too wrong with that. I think I just lean the elite player just to build my team around, and I'll probably go Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I could see the case for Chuba in that almost 7 rounds of value.
I think I'm going Chuba, and here's why. If it's one keeper, there's going to be a lot of talent left over, right? Because there's only going to be 12 players kept. So, I mean, I initially think that's probably like the first round of the draft, right? So like Bajan's probably getting kept. Malik Neighbors is probably getting kept. But you have to consider too, like those players are not evenly divided across the teams. Like Malik Neighbors and Bajan could easily be on the same team. So one of them is going back into the player pool. So there's going to be first round talent that you might even like over Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you still get that value of keeping Chuba in the 12th. I think that's probably the play here. Um, but if you're keeping more than one, like the strategy changes a lot for me there. But I think keeping Chuba and just getting a running back, like a solid running back that's going to get you, 200, 300 points this year in the 12th is a steal. I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like some of the meta that you got to think about and keep in mind. I think it also depends on where your pick is, right? If
Yeah.
I'm a earlier pick, then I definitely could see maybe somehow somebody got double stacked up on like a Drake London, Puka, some or a wide receiver that you like even more, and then they also have one of these breakout running backs or something. So I think that would also influence me a lot. Like where am I picking? If I'm towards the back end of a round, then I'm probably not all that interested in that sort of thing because I think that the first round talent might dry up. But it's definitely those are the keepers, and I think that's why keepers are pretty fun. It's not something, and kind of why the reason we wanted to do an episode like this about keeper centric is it doesn't get a ton of talk about, but I think there's so much strategy, and especially with the different rules like what we've been talking about, that it really makes it fun. It makes you really have to think and really if you have a set strategy, if you have like a way that you want to attack this your keeper decision, like compared to other people, I think it give you a really big edge. So yeah, man, I think got two different takes there. However you kind of are feeling. I don't think you go out wrong with either, but um, yeah, man, we could probably
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. On that same note, and like the keeper strategy and stuff, like a lot goes into who, like you're saying, like where you're picking and who's going to be available, and really evaluating, what talent is going to be on the board for you at that place. So kind of looking ahead and figuring out where those tier breaks are, playing out different scenarios of who's being kept and trying to figure out those tier breaks can do a lot to help you decide who you pick or who you keep. All right, we got one more for us here. This one is near and dear to my heart because this one is my team. I am also a reigning champ in this league, and it'll be quite obvious here in a second when I tell you that we have to keep three of these seven players that are all qualified or maybe worth being kept. It's a 10 team. We start nine. You start three wide receivers and two flex. It's a single QB, half PPR, and you get to keep these guys at cost. So it's Kyron for a seventh rounder, Lad for a ninth, Jaden Daniels for a 12th, Jonathan Taylor for a sixth, James Cook for a 10th, JSN for an 11th, or Malik Neighbors for a third. What's your initial thoughts here, man?
Um, yeah, man. I mean, congrats. I mean, what an awesome team. What a great problem to have to make these type of decisions. I mean, some of these values, JSN for an 11th is pretty darn wild. So I think that's where my eye first catches me, just JSN, like for that sort of value where he's going now. The projections about him catch my eye. You said we have to keep three. It's a single quarterback. Um, I think, and you start how many wide receivers?
Three.
3. Yeah, I mean, I think for me that also pushes a guy like Ladd up the board. And then I think I'd just be between Kyron and Jonathan Taylor. I think for as crazy as it sound letting Neighbors go for a third, um, I think there's the value, and I don't think it's Neighbors to me between Ladd and JSN is not that huge um of a jump where like in the third, what kind of player could you be getting that you're giving up? Meanwhile, you get Ladd for a ninth and JSN for an 11th. Like I don't think there's anything even close to equal, even in like the best case scenarios of players going in the ninth round that you're gonna find a Ladd or a JSN in the 11th for sure. So I think those guys just on value to me stand out the most. And I'm scared of James Cook without the contract, even though that's pretty good. That Indianapolis Colts offense scares me, but so does the Rams offense now with Matthew Stafford and Kyron. So I think I probably just take the swing on Kyron because I think he could be okay without Stafford, and I just go Kyron, JSN, and Ladd.
Yeah. No, those are good picks. And there's another wrinkle here that I didn't include on at the top, but you can't keep players in the first 2 rounds. So you can only
Okay.
keep your round 3 picks and later. Um, and that's kind of why I purposely took Neighbors in the third. I was at the end of I think I was the ninth pick last year, and so as soon as that third round hit, he was my first pick, thinking that I was just going to cement him in as a keeper for forever and just let him, be on my squad. Um, Another wrinkle is that we can currently trade. So what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to trade JT, and I've been trying to trade him for a fourth rounder and a sixth. So I'll give up JT and a sixth, and I get your fourth rounder. So I'm upgrading a pick. I'm getting rid of a player that I would normally throw back into the pool, and that person not only gets to keep JT for a six, but they still have their sixth round pick because I'm giving them a sixth round pick. It cost them a fourth, but they're investing. Like if JT was in the draft, he'd probably go in the second or third round. So they're still getting a discount on JT. It's been tough. A lot of people aren't plugged into the league this time of the year, so I still have like 6 of those trades open, awaiting responses. So I think when the draft comes around, I might be able to get a little more traction on that. But that's kind of the moves that I'm looking to do here is to kind of flip. I have the guys that I drafted in the first and second round last year were Garrett Wilson and Drake London. So I had those guys on my squad too on this team last year. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like I think JSN for an 11th is an auto keep. I really want to try and keep Neighbors on this team, and also Jaden Daniels for a 12th rounder. That's just so tempting to just keep him. Knowing what he can provide you. But it is a single QB league, so it's hard to invest that there. And then James Cook for a 10th is just like, man, that's also I've also been trying to get rid of him and get anything. Like that's crazy value on James Cook, and someone has to believe in him. And if I can upgrade that 10th to an eighth round pick, like I'm doing that. So that's kind of the strategy that I have going into this is I've been trying to flip a lot of these guys for value to make these decisions a lot easier for me, but also put me in a position to have a really strong year this year as well. So right now, I don't know, man. I'm leaning Neighbors, JSN, and Lad, to be honest, and just
Yeah, I
try to
mean,
with the rookie running backs this year and like the depth of talent that they have there, like I could just draft those guys and hopefully build a strong core of running backs around them.
right. Yeah, I mean, I was as you were talking, I was also just like 3 wide receivers. If I just keep the 3 wide receivers, is there a chance that there's anybody with a better a wide receiver room than you? Maybe the Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb owners also were able to snag up some, Brian Thomas Jr. and somebody else. But it makes me feel like with those 3 guys, you just pretty much have the best wide receiver room in the league. And then you said the first 2 rounds come back into the pool, which means you have a first and a second round pick, right? Always.
Correct.
So, I mean, Saquon Barkley's back in the pool.
Jamar Chase.
Jameer Gibbs, Jamar Chase. Oh, Jamar Chase. Yes, I mean,
Yeah,
there's some you have like all those guys. The only thing I always get like my head gets like spinny when I start thinking about this. It's like, so if you trade for one of these guys, you have to have the round pick that you have to keep them in, right? So
correct.
who's doing like the math so we don't get to the like? Is there a commissioner that's just putting in a lot of work, or how do you guys keep track of it? Because that's where my mind goes, and like we don't show up to the draft, and this guy's like, oh yeah, I kept these three guys, but then like two of them I don't even have the draft picks for. Like, who is that? Are you the guy, or is it just a lot of work on the commish, or how do you guys make that work?
Well, I think when you lock it into sleeper, it locks him into that draft slot. So if you don't have that draft pick, I don't think you'd be able to lock that player in.
Oh, okay. So
And then yeah, I mean, as far as keeping where they're drafted, they have the history on the player. So when you go into the player, you tap the history button, you can see where you drafted them, which is how I've been keeping track of all my things. So I think that's how it works. I don't think that there's a lot of overhead that the league manager has to do. Um,
gotcha.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, so knowing that, like, keeping neighbors in the third feels valuable, just in the sense that he may not ever be able to be kept again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think for all those guys, I mean, Lad a little bit less for my personal view, but I think JSN could be a guy that like the next like 3-4 years is in the second round consistently, and you wouldn't ever be able to keep. So, yeah, I mean, and like there's nothing to stop you if you have those three guys. That then you just also take a Jamar Chase if you fall. Yeah, like obviously you're at the 112, right? So I mean the chances that you're getting a guy like that are probably lower. But I mean you're still gonna get a first round talent, whether it's who's at the back of the first, like a AJ Brown. I mean Drake London might come back to you, right? Like you said you so I don't think it would prevent you from then taking another wide receiver if that's what felt, but then you'll be right there. In a league like this, is it a snake or is it a linear
Snake.
snake? So you'll have right 112 and 2-1. I mean,
Yeah.
either something falls to you crazy and you get I don't know Bucky Irving, and I don't know if he was he probably wasn't a top 2 rounds, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, like I'm sure you've done the math and looked at those type of things. I feel like, um, and also what you're trying to do with the trading some of these guys. I mean, anything you can get, right? I mean, obviously you're not going to give them away for free to make other teams stronger, but anything that you can kind of muster up in terms of extra picks is just going to be cream on, on top of guys that you're just going to lose for free. So,
Essentially, yeah.
yeah, I think I've talked myself into keeping all three wide receivers, man. I mean, like, in lineup leagues, I'm a little bit of a lineup, what is it, enjoyer, where I like to go look at my lineup and just be like, oh yeah, there's Neighbors, Lad, and JSN. Wow, I feel real good. And then I just close the app, and then I'm down later in the week, and I come look at it again. I'm like, wow, this looks really nice. So
It sure was last year, man. I had
oh
I
man,
I had weekly starting decisions between Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors, JSN, and then Lad turned on at the end of the year, and I was just like, "There's not enough spots to start all these guys." I had to bench one of them. I
yeah,
could only start five. It was good problem to have, though.
for sure, man.
Yeah,
That's killer team.
yeah. Let's hope to keep it rolling this year. I'll keep you guys posted on how we finish out there. But yeah, man, that's gonna wrap up our episode here. Let's hop into the outro here. Yeah, man. Another great episode. Hopefully, we can kind of keep the keeper talk rolling as the seasons progress, and keep some spotlight on these type of leagues here. How about you, man?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Always a pleasure. I think keeper is pretty interesting and got a lot of different formats, a lot of different things to cover. But as always, like, subscribe. If you can leave a comment on YouTube, if you can give us a little rating, follow us on Spotify. We're uploading pretty much everywhere. Got the Twitter, the X, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man, always fun kicking with you, and we're almost there, man. Almost to
there.
football.
Yeah, man, and stay tuned with us, guys. We got a new brand coming out soon, but until then, peace. See you guys. Have a good one.